And good morning to, actually I might as well say good morning to everybody from Gold Harbour Radio, ZMH286, Patricia and David. A bit late this morning. I was trying to scrabble for news. There's not much going around. Before I pick up Quintessa's, I just missed it. I was doing something else. I will tell you that it's just unpleasant here. 12 degrees, 6 knots from the southwest. I bet some of these boats turn around and go back to the tropics. Scattered rain. I was going to say 100% cloud cover, but I just see that's a bit of a clearing over there from the north. So we'll give it 95% cloud cover. The bar is 1017.6 and rising. So, boy, 12 degrees. It was warmer than that in flipping winter time. I'll just quickly I've got some numbers down, and I'm just starting to know that Alan is there, Trevor. So could you just repeat the position? I've got easterly 15 to 20 with a bit of rain. Go ahead.
Yeah, the 0858, dials down to 15803 west.
Oh, I got that a bit round the wrong way. So 0858 south and 15803 west. Thank you for that. And I assume all is well. He's making pretty good progress, isn't he? So, oh boy, he's making really good progress longitude-wise, ripping along there, particularly now with that easterly wind. He'll be quite happy. Yeah, I didn't think he'd have that much wind. I've been following the progress of Y2K going across to Palmerston, and they didn't seem to have quite the decent conditions that he's got. But anyway, all right. Well, good morning to everybody else. Is there anybody else on Passage that wants to report in anything? I've got a couple of emails here of interest to people. Actually, I've just lost them, but they're coming up again. Maryland's on their way across, and they are currently at 19 south and 176.31, heading to Savu. They've got 12 knots at easterly, 10% cloud. Well, I bet they won't be complaining. So that sounds pretty decent. And Obsession are at dinner hour, and they've got 10 to 15 knots of southeast, 60% cloud cover. And they did, in fact, have a few small showers yesterday. So, well, I wonder if the Yasawa's got it. It's certainly, you have to be on the other side of Fiji to really enjoy some rain. All right, I'll just do a pause.
Lucy.
Oh, good heavens, Lucy, go ahead.
Yeah, good morning. Yeah, we're on set from La Puerta to Opua, and our position is 24 degrees. 19 south, 173 degrees, 50 over.
Oh, got that, and you've got a very good signal. 2419 and 17350 east. And what are your other conditions?
We've got about 15 knots from the south-southeast. We're Sky is clearing finally, and our barometer's just gone way up to 1019.
Sounds pretty pleasant. Okay, 12 to 15 south-southeast. When did you say that was going to back? It's not for a couple of days. I'll just pass the microphone.
Yeah, you're doing pretty good. Tomorrow, the wind should be a little bit more. You might get up to about 20 knots, still out of the southeast. And the reason your barometer's coming up is that high is coming across the Tasman and building. So you're getting the enjoying effects of that. So yeah, looking at tomorrow tomorrow by dinner time, down there at say 26 or 27 south, 15 to 20, I'd say. And then, and looking into Saturday for you, it starts to back just a little bit, maybe east-southeast, but in the 15 knot range as you get to about 28 south, closer to 30, it starts to lighten up a little bit because you're closer to the center of the high. And those winds will stay in that direction, tending easterly by Sunday. And that will be in the I'd call it the 10 to 15 knot mark on Sunday. Over.
Are you guys all in touch with yourselves? All of the ones heading south at the moment, over?
Yeah, sorry to hear that. We'll figure out anyone else negative. We're leaking stuff. We need that at the same time. You heard from them, over?
No, we've got Miss Murphy we're hearing from, but I just thought if, well, there's nothing actually evil that's coming up. We would let you know one boat anyway know over the weekend, probably Miss Murphy, but if you're not all in touch, then you won't get to hear it. But there's nothing coming up that's evil. It looks still pretty good.
There's a funnel.
Well, a little bit of a frontal band, but I'll just pass the microphone back, and this is for those folk that are heading south, and for those folk that are listening to what they're actually getting heading south.
Yeah, the models are disagreeing on the funnel band approaching New Zealand. It's any time between, well, I'd say very late Sunday and the Monday morning. But there is a chance because the high, I'm going to actually talk about this in a minute, but it won't hurt to repeat it. The high that's to the east of New Zealand is strong, and it's gaining a little bit of strength. It is quite possible it could break apart that frontal band and hold it at bay, meaning it may not even get to New Zealand. The models are in total disagreement on that sort of thing, but the front itself is not spectacular at all. So you'll know it's close when your winds go northwest, is about all I can say at the moment. Over.
Thank you very much.
All right, now do you want me to put this onto YIT for you? Over?
Yes, of course. Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
All right, no problem. All right, is there anybody else that wants to let us know what's going on passage-wise? Oh, there he is, Miss Murphy. Go ahead, Gordon.
Yeah, good morning. I heard the weather got from David just now. I am at 2334 17400. At 6.5 knots. Easterly 15 to 18 knots.
Okay, got all that, Gordon. So we'll stick that on the system too. And yep, you guys are all pretty good position at the moment, so making good progress. It sounds a little bit busy out there. Often, I don't think we hardly ever at about that position get to see anybody, but I suppose with AIS now it makes it a little bit easier. I presume all is well. Over. Okay, all right. Well, that's a couple of them, and conditions are pretty much as expected, so that's good. All right, let's go on to a little bit of news. If there's anybody else, I'll pick you up after the net. But boy, it's got good conditions radio-wise today, which is about damn time. There's actually not an awful lot of news, I'd have to say. I keep forgetting to tell you, especially the Swedish folk, that there is still no final result from the election because of the hung parliament. The Prime Minister lost a vote of confidence a couple of days ago, so fortunately, the country is ticking along, despite the fact that there is no ruling group at the moment. Just as well, the Congo is not on a route for any one of you. It's just a basket case at the moment. Ebola is back again, unfortunately, about 40 deaths there. And if you add that to the cholera and measles and polio and armed attackers, there's pretty much not much light for the folk that live in the Congo, and certainly no attraction to visit the Congo. A couple of whale stories. A beluga whale was followed and pictured in the Thames. Can you believe it? That's interesting. And in Florida, a couple of boats took pictures of what they describe as a rare scalloped hammerhead shark. And when I told David about this, he said, oh, they're not very rare there. He did his degree down at Florida. What was it? Whereabouts was it? Anyway, he did his degree in Florida and did a lot of diving because that was involved in his marine biology and that course. And he said they are not all of that, not that rare down there at all. Anyway, Prince Harry and the Duchess of Suffolk are in New Zealand at the moment, experiencing our cold snap. We're confused because we're still watching Meghan Markle in her role on Suits, and we're only at Series 7, and she hasn't even got around to marrying Mike on Series 7 yet, so we're a little bit behind, but they're in New Zealand because he's on his way. I'm not sure whether he's already visited Fiji, and I think he was visiting Fiji and Tonga, I think, on his way to the games in Sydney. But we'll update you on that one when I find out. I don't know if any of you need to have EpiPens on board for anybody. These are the little very expensive devices for injecting adrenaline if you have reactions. They're incredibly expensive. The company got sold to another company and they raised the price. They were US dollars $600 for 2 of them. And but the FDA have just approved in August a generic version, which is only going to be $5. So that will certainly enable it to be funded by our Pharmac system in New Zealand for those that need them. Pharmac in New Zealand, folks, we have pretty much free medicines so long as they're on the list of things that Pharmac approved. And you don't get a choice of which brand. They will, for example, Lipitor is on the Pharmac system, but occasionally goes off to the competition and then it comes back on again. You get basically free medicine here, but not as a visitor. If you're a visitor, you have to injure yourself, and if you injure yourself, you will absolutely get total free care, but you have to have had an injury to cause that. So there you have it. You will still need to buy your medicines, but if you want them in New Zealand, and also if you get them shipped into New Zealand, boy, that is a difficulty. So make sure you organise that with customs if you are getting meds shipped into New Zealand, because I can assure you, having been through the experience with David, that if you don't do all that ahead of time, they will end up in the bin. All right, let's go to the United Nations, where yesterday the weather in New York was absolutely torrential, evidently. Maybe that was Mr. Trump's excuse for being half an hour late, but it wasn't. But anyway, he spoke at the National Assembly and basically said that he covered a lot of ground. His administration had accomplished. He told them all about what he had accomplished, and that actually brought a laugh, which it wasn't what he expected, he said. But anyway, he then went on to give Iran a real berating. His basic comment was, we reject the ideology of globalism and we embrace the doctrine of patriotism. So that was Mr. Trump's stance, and you can't argue with that because that was what he was elected on and that's what he's doing. So that's the American stance. Okay, well that's about it really. There's not an awful lot going on. I really do scan an awful lot of news items and some days do struggle. So I'll just check if there's anybody else with anything before we go to the weather. I'm just looking at streaming. There's nobody on streaming this morning. So good morning to folk on streaming. I've actually did remember to check it this morning that we are working. So on some mornings the internet system is not all that great, and it's not stellar at the moment, but it's still working. Anybody with anything?
Lucy.
Yeah, go ahead again.
Yeah, morning again. I'm going to get with Miss Murphy after this bulletin, please.
Yep, that'd be a good idea. Lucy and Miss Murphy, if you can connect up after the net finishes here, and then work out which frequency you want to go to, probably a lower one than this one. Okay, well, with that, I am going to sit here and listen. I tell you what I'm looking at is quite a spectacular satellite picture today, so good that none of you that we can hear anyway are up in the Solomons. Here's David.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. You bet about that one. I've been following the tropical disturbance up there. We talked about it yesterday. West of Honiara last night in the Solomons, for those of you that aren't sure where that is. Does not have a name yet. at least not as of last night or early this morning, but the reference is called Invest 91P91 Papa. Now, satellite imagery is showing banding wrapping into what we call an LLCC. There's a new one for you. And that stands for Low Level Circulation Center. So in other words, looking at it on satellite imagery, which we are doing sitting here, we could see bands of cloud in a cyclonic fashion twirling around the system. There's pretty strong outflow. In other words, there's upper level support to maintain this. In addition to that, the sea surface temperatures up in that area are 28 to 29 C. So that's quite supportive of the development of the system. Now, models, now these are not your models that you look at for your winds, the GFS, the ECMWF. These are specific models for cyclone, tropical cyclone, or hurricane development. These models are expecting further development of this system over the next 48 hours, and the potential for a significant tropical cyclone has been upgraded to high. Now, don't panic at the moment. Now, there's a big difference between the wording here that I'm using and what you may be thinking. The potential is high. So this is Met speak for the conditions are right for the system to develop into a tropical cyclone that is high. This is not a prediction that it is going to be a significant tropical cyclone. Two different things. So this is just more of a technical look at the dynamics of this. Now, last night, Fiji Met, Meteo France, they have not picked this up. Actually, in my view, that's rather shameful. In fact, it's bloody lazy, I think. This morning, by the way, looking at it in real detail, like right now, I'm putting the center of the system at 11 and 152 east. 11 and 152 east. And, well, let's take a look briefly at the general synoptic picture for the Southwest Pacific. We'll get away from the system for a little bit and talk about our cruising route area. Now, the main player, as we discussed, is the new anticyclone in the Tasman. It's very slowly moving east, and by lunch tomorrow, the center is going to be just northwest of North Cape, and the central pressure about 1028 millibar. And by Saturday, it should be, fairly close to the North Island of New Zealand. And for those of you that have taken this opportunity to make the passage, by Sunday, and what's Sunday, the 30th, the high is going to be slipping just past New Zealand, and the winds at 25 south are more or less going to be easterlies, and if you're at 31 south, they'll be northeasterlies, and that, of course, is the western edge of the high. Now, the frontal band at this point, this is the front that's approaching New Zealand, will be in the mid-Tasman. The band looks to weaken quite a bit between now and then, which is fortunate for those of you that are on your way. So arrival Monday, Tuesday is probably going to show very little drama. At least let's hope that's the case. It's quite possible, as I mentioned earlier, that the high off to the east of New Zealand is going to hold this in abeyance, hold this front back a little bit. And two things can happen. One, it could actually cause the front to fill, and number two, it could just slow it down. Either way, it's good news. Now, back to this tropical depression just for a minute. There's a trough that basically runs over Vanuatu at the moment, and cloud from this tropical depression is getting picked up into the wind flow that's part of this trough system. And this is going to connect with what we call a quasi-stationary front that's over southern Tonga. So it's almost it looks like almost a continuous line of cloud bands, some high, some low, some with lots of rain, some with not so much rain, and some areas with breaks as well. But in general, a pretty continuous line. And this continues all the way over to the southern coast. Up to the north, there is an active trough that's running from Tuvalu, goes to Tokelau, and it continues on to guess where, the northern coast. Okay, now lastly, this morning, early, as you know, I all get up pretty early here to get the latest. And actually, Fiji has come to the party. Hallelujah. Fiji Met has come through. They've pulled their head out, is about all I can say. I get a little bit irritated with them at times. They get so slow to pick up these systems, and it is their responsibility for that general area. So that's why I'm a little bit hard on them. But they picked it up, and the current movement analysis that they are showing at the moment is the track to the southeast, and the outlook in the next 48 hours is to put it at 13 south and 160 east, moving south to southeast at about 4 knots. The winds in the system right now, we could calculate that pretty easily by the microwave satellite, and it's about 50 knots. And by the way, their reference for this is Tropical Depression 01F, 01 Foxtrot. Now, my feeling on this is that the track is going to change more to the west. So those of you that are in Vanuatu, New Caledonia, keep your fingers crossed on this. Certainly monitor this event. We will be giving complete reviews of it tomorrow morning on our broadcast, and we'll see what's new with this system. Okay, Tonga now. Tonga's satellite imagery shows the quasi-stationary front over Tongatapu for the most part, and that is the northern edge of the band. There's another band, totally different band, that lies over Nui Tupatapu, or New Potatoes, for those of you that have been up there. So that's a little bit further to the north towards Samoa. Now, Vavau and the Hapais are looking pretty good, actually, relatively clear early this morning. Vavau reports east 7 knots of wind at the airport, a little bit of scattered cloud in the barometer 1014. The Hapais report easterly 8 knots, a few reported cloud there, and the barometer 1014. And Tongatapu east-southeast about 5 knots, and scattered to broken cloud, barometer 1016. Now, by lunch today, my forecast is winds will be east-southeast in the 15-knot range, but more wind tomorrow. I think east-southeast to southeast in the 20-knot range. So a little bit more air. Enjoy what you can while you can. Over to Fiji now, where the trough lies over the southern parts of the group. They expect cloud and rain for southern Viti Levu, the Kendabu area, and the southern Lau. The trough looks to drift a little bit north through tomorrow, and there is in fact a heavy rain warning in force for those 3 areas that I mentioned, and a very good chance of thunderstorms as well. In addition, there is a strong wind warning in force for southwest Viti Levu, Vatui Ra Pass, Kendabu Pass, the Asawas, and the Mamanuca waters, and that's southeast winds 20 to 25 knots, and poor visibility in the areas of heavy rain. And this will continue tomorrow. So, Graham, maybe the Asawas will get some rain after all. We'll see if this promise I made yesterday will actually happen. Now, for the rest of Fiji, east to southeast winds about 15 to 20. Now, overall, expect a moderate southerly swell to come rolling in from those big swells to the south, and fairly rough sea. And a heads up for you Saturday. I see pretty strong southeast winds for the southern half of the group, 25 to 30 knots, east-southeast to southeast, and this includes the southern Lao, and those strong winds are probably going to spread very slowly northward, so watch out for that. Over to Vanuatu now, where the trough is quite active. Again, outflow from the tropical depression is being pulled into the trough, and the trough is expecting to include New Caledonia as well. It didn't look like that yesterday, but the satellite imagery today shows bands, quite active cloud bands, right off the coast of Grand Terre to the north, and also scattered cloud in our lagoon area as well. Now back to Vanuatu. The very north part of Vanuatu just shows broken cloud. The bulk of the action is central to southern Vanuatu. Expect southeast winds to 25 knots from Inisham up to Santo, but light easterlies to maybe northeasterlies north of there. And moving over to New Cal, as we mentioned, the bulk of New Cal is just south of the southern edge of the trough, and cloud is going to build today, I think, and so will the wind. Expect 20 knots east-southeast with showers by lunchtime. By dinner time, 20 to 30 knots. Quite a bit of air is going to be moving in, so be careful there. This is going to continue Friday and Saturday, and I wouldn't be surprised Sunday as well for these strong winds. Now, actual conditions at 5 o'clock this morning: Amity light east 21 knots, Yildipan at east-southeast gust to 17, and Noumea was east 17 knots. And the radar scan showed numerous showers in the southern lagoon. So those clouds that we see there are actually dropping some rain as well. So hopefully everybody had a good couple of days prior to all of this hitting the fan. And that's all I've got. So we'll talk again tomorrow, get you up to date on what this tropical depression is or is not doing. And if you have any questions, come now, and I'll pass you over to Patricia.
Yeah, it was interesting reading because there's big differences depending on where you are in Fiji. For Whitehawk at the moment, John and Lynette are bashing their way towards the northern Lao. They've got 20 to 25 knots and nasty, steep, short period seas, squalls last night, heavy rain. They're trying to get to Vanua Balavu, and right down the bottom, there's a Troy. Good morning, Marina and Diego. They've got a very pleasant easterly 5 to 10 knots and not much around at all. So
enjoy it while you can.
Enjoy it while you can, you guys down there. And thank you for the photo. We now know what the Sandspit area is like. It was interesting. Makes me a bit envious that we never got there, actually. So there you have it, folks. There's a bit of activity, lots of activity for David in particular to get excited about with all of the, the satellite picture looks very different from what it looked yesterday. Okay, is there any questions, clarifications needed? Please come now. All peaceful and quiet. We still don't have Elvay plodding north. They were still at 32 last night, according to Peter. So we'll wait till they get up to 30 before we start giving weather. In fact, probably the southbound boats will be there before them, the rate they're going. Okay, well, we'll just leave the frequency to Mike and Gordon for a minute to work out where they want to go, and we will see you all again tomorrow. There was something else I wanted to tell you, but I can't remember what it was now. I should make notes for myself. Anyway, we'll be back again tomorrow, and we can go from there. What is it today? Thursday? Friday tomorrow. Okay, Friday tomorrow. So we will be doing a big roundup of weather tomorrow. So that's the usual story to tide you through the weekend. Cheers, everybody. And if you just give Lucy and Miss Murphy a few minutes, and then the frequency's all yours. Cheers.